If you sit in a perfectly arranged room for long enough, you might begin to notice a strange, quiet friction. The edges of the space are incredibly clean. The surface of the desk is completely bare, save for a single matte black pen and a notebook that has never been written in. Everything in your line of sight has been selected, vetted, and placed with absolute intention. Feels peaceful, at least at first. But if you remain there, undisturbed, the silence begins to feel less like peace and more like breath held under pressure. You realize that in this immaculate space, there is no room for you to actually exist. To exist is to make a mess. To live is to leave a trace. And here, traces are forbidden. For decades, we have been told that clutter is the enemy of a meaningful life. We watched documentaries about the psychology of hoarding, read guides on how to discard anything that failed to spark immediate joy, and packed our pasts into cardboard boxes destined for the thrift store. We believed that by emptying our shelves, we were freeing our minds. We wanted to strip away the noise of consumerism so we could finally hear ourselves think. It was a beautiful promise. But a curious thing happened on the way to simplicity. We did not actually stop accumulating. We simply changed what we accumulated. We traded physical objects for digital rituals, aesthetic guidelines, and behavioral frameworks. We began to curate our lives as if they were museum exhibitions, where every piece of furniture, every meal, and every thought had to justify its place in the collection. We designed morning routines that require 15 precise steps before we allow ourselves to taste coffee. We downloaded applications to track our sleep, our hydration, our productivity, and our mood. We created folders within folders, tag systems for our daily notes, and color-coded calendars that dictate exactly when we should be creative, when we should rest, and when we should connect with others. We called this optimization. We called it living with intention. But if you step back and look at the sheer cognitive weight of maintaining this perfect order, a quiet question begins to form. Is this freedom, or have we simply built a more beautiful cage? Consider the difference between traditional clutter and the clutter of a curated life. Physical clutter is loud, but it is passive. A stack of old magazines on a coffee table does not demand your constant vigilance to exist. It simply sits there, dusty and quiet, waiting to be thrown away or ignored. But curated order is active. It requires endless, exhausting maintenance. Every time you buy a cup of coffee, every time you take a photograph, every time you read an article, you must decide where it fits into your personal narrative, your digital archive, or your mental framework. You must tag it, file it, or consciously decide to discard it. The act of curation becomes a second job, a silent tax on your attention that runs continuously in the background of your mind. We are so busy managing the system that we have forgotten how to live within it. The system was supposed to serve us, but we have become its curators, dusting the virtual shelves of our own lives, terrified of what might happen if something falls out of place. We have replaced the physical clutter of the attic with the mental clutter of constant, vigilant self-policing. This is where the realization begins to shift from uncomfortable to genuinely unsettling. Why do we crave this perfect order so desperately? Perhaps it is because physical chaos is easy to understand, but existential chaos is terrifying. We curate our environments because we cannot control our mortality, our relationships, or the unpredictable nature of the world outside our doors. We arrange our books by color because we cannot arrange our futures. The perfectly organized pantry, the flawless digital note-taking system, the meticulously tracked sleep cycle, these are not tools for living. They are shields. They are monuments to our anxiety, constructed to keep the unpredictable nature of reality at bay. By turning our daily existence into a curated exhibition, we have commodified our very being. We view ourselves from the outside, as spectators of our own lives. We ask ourselves not how a moment feels, but how it looks, how it fits into the aesthetic we have constructed. The clutter has not vanished. It has merely moved inward. It is a clutter of rules, of expectations, of aesthetic standards that we must constantly meet. It is a dense, suffocating fog of self-consciousness that prevents us from ever being truly present in our own skin. We have eliminated the mess of living, only to replace it with the paralysis of perfection. When nothing is allowed to be out of place, nothing unexpected can ever happen. The curated life is a closed loop. It allows for no happy accidents, no spontaneous detours, and no beautiful mistakes. But it is precisely in those uncurated, messy margins that the most profound human experiences occur. Love is rarely tidy. Grief is entirely unmanageable. Genius often emerges from a desk that looks like a battlefield. By sanitizing our lives, we are not just cleaning our rooms. We are numbing our capacity to be surprised by existence. Let us look again at that quiet, perfect room. Outside the window, a dead leaf drifts down from a tree and lands on the clean glass. A spider begins to spin a web in the upper corner of the frame. The wind blows a small, unruly swirl of dust across the immaculate floorboards. These things do not ask for permission. They do not care about the aesthetic. They are simply happening. There is a strange, cold comfort in that. The world is inherently messy, unpredictable, and wonderfully indifferent to our systems. No matter how many apps we download, no matter how many things we discard, we cannot organize our way out of the human condition. The dust will always return. The leaves will always fall. When you look at the perfectly ordered life you have so carefully assembled, who is actually living it, and what are you hiding behind the clean lines?